peace, prosperity, and love, beautiful people. Welcome to Gracefully Imperfect, a podcast for the Black and African diaspora in material of socioeconomics, politics, religion, and so forth. The centrality of this podcast is immersive empathy, introspection, deep thought, soul-serving conversation, and communication, all in the light of unlocking the keys to vulnerability and transformation. During our time together, we will engage in topics related to mental and spiritual health experiences, the intersectionality of mental health and creativity, identity and culture, and any and all things related to healing from trauma, gathering insights, cultivating a deep sense of knowing, and repairing soul wounds. In the essence of communal love and collective consciousness, let us open our minds, lighten our hearts, settle our spirit, access soul intelligence, and affirm the richness of our humanity.
Peace, love, blessings and abundance to all of you. This is Brother KD, and we are back for another episode of Gracefully Imperfect, where we are continuously unlocking the keys to transformation and vulnerability, one conversation at a time. And that is not always a seamless, unchallenging process. And I do recognize that that requires authenticity, safety, and courage. And I'm so grateful that we are having new people subscribe to the podcast. And what is that? And what that is telling me is that not only is the podcast tasteful, but there are people out there that are seeking transformation, seeking liberation, seeking healing, and seeking content that's going to stimulate their mind, widen and expand their perspective, enhance and elevate their consciousness, which therefore will alter, change, modify, and adjust the way in which that they show up in the world. And so I want to say thank you and much gratitude to all of you new subscribers, and also for the ones who've been here for a while, who's been tuning in, who's been going back into the old videos before we got the upgrade, and showing love, showing support, and showing appreciation. Love. If you've been following some of the movement that's going on with Gracefully Imperfect and with Brother KD, you'll see that I recently just did a collaboration with Revolutionary Social Work. And that was quite fun and exciting and informative. It was a live. It happened a few days ago. Today is the first. So it happened a few days ago. I'm going to put the link to the live recording in the episode notes. So if you have not checked it out, please do. And in there, we talk about the revolutionary spirit, how to inculcate a revolutionary spirit into children, into yourself, and how to pass that on generationally. Liberation social work. We talk about healing and liberation and nature, holistic healing, and so much more. We definitely connected and resonated with each other because we, as parents, as also marriage folks, we value the socialization of holistic wellness, not only for ourselves, but for the development and the for the development of our children and their children and so forth and so on. So peace and love to the revolutionary social workers, Alicia and Professor Ace. It was a blessing. It was a privilege. I'm honored to be able to share in space and time with the both of you. And I'm so glad that you was able to carve out time and space so we can coexist with one another. We also before that, we had a episode on the origins of liberation social work, and we're going to continue to keep building off of that. Not today, but I really would like for y'all to tune in to that. And if you have not watched that, that will be in the show notes as well. And I think that that's important to understand. To understand gracefully imperfect, you have to understand some of intellectual the intellectual background and the intellectual foreground that has taken place with myself. Gracefully Imperfect is not just something that I just came up because I just thought it was catchy and I wanted to grab people's attention. It's actually a paradigm, um, a way of looking at the world, a way of looking at human nature and human life, a way of reconciling with your old self, the layers of your past and present and future that come with shame and resentment and anger and trauma, and transforming that into possibility and opportunity for growth, positive growth, change, development, and ascension. So please follow that, the origins of liberation social work. That's going to be in the show notes. That was our last episode. It was beautiful. It was poetic. Um, but today I wanted to take a different approach because I'm a we person, and I say this to my children all the time. We are not I people. We are we people, and that falls in line with the ontological perspective of being an African person, regardless of where you are nationally. I am because we are is the simple conception of the concept of Ubuntu. Having that understanding that our humanity and dignity and justice and the pursuit of justice are interwoven and intermingled with one another. And so I want to really focus on today. I want to really talk about being a father to my firstborn and really reflecting on my firstborn's life, the constant learning and evolutionary factors that are going into his development, and some of the reflections that I really that I continuously build off of to be a better father, educator, teacher, role model to him. And so, Dear Firstborn will be a part of a series. We have, Janae and I, we have 3 children. And so I'm going to do one for each one. I'm going to do an episode for each one of our children. And so this is going to be very exciting because it's going to force me to open, to hold the mirror up of honesty and transparency and reflectiveness, and to really capture the essence of how they affect, impact, and liven up our lives. And so, our firstborn He is a very bright, very special boy. I remember when Ajane told me that when she was pregnant, I was 21 years old and I was scared. No, like legitimately, I was out of my mind. I was so fearful that when she told me, I had nothing to say other than, "Oh, really?" I was completely lost for words. Here I am, a boy myself, trying to figure out this white man's military, trying to navigate it, and trying to navigate it to the best of my ability. And I just came back from a 12-month deployment in um, Southwest Asia. And now I'm back home, and this is what happened. And selfishly, I was very, um, I did not consider really my wife's feelings at the time. Now, she did confide to me that I handled it well because she did not perceive that I was being self absorbed and self centered. I will counter that and say I was being selfish and self centered and self absorbed. I did not think about her. I was so caught up in me. How is this going to affect my military career? How is this going to affect any career moves that I wanted to pursue? How is this going to restrict my freedom? And how is this becoming a new father at a young age going to affect the financial landscape of our lives? And what you can tell from all of those internal dialogue related questions is that none of those considered a positive. I did not view coming into being a father as a grand, happy, joyful thing. And quite honestly, as I'm sharing that, I feel a sense of disgust and distaste, knowing what I know now, going through the evolutionary and transformative stages. But that is the truth. I was not ready at that moment. And even though I was not ready, or what I perceived as ready, I needed to become a father. It was part of my divine destiny to become a father. And this is why I know that. When Aiden was born, and I remember being in the hospital, and he was a premature child, I held him ever so closely. And there's a picture of us. I have a hat on back when I had actual haircut. I didn't wear glasses at the time. And I'm holding him ever so tightly. And he's so tiny, like 5 pounds and 6 ounces, maybe even smaller, 5 pounds and 3 ounces. And holding this small child in my arms on my chest, wh- I realized what my sacred duty and obligation is to him. I mean, I didn't know the the full scope of what fatherhood was and is and shall be, what I realized in that moment, I'm like, I am this child's protector. I must nurture this child. Just the mere holding of the child that Ajane and I procreated and brought into this world made me realize like all of that shenanigans and the fear and the worry and the distress, it was transformed into a sacred mission and obligation that, that I am his and he is ours. And we are going to do this to the best of our ability. And so every time I look at that picture, it always reminds me of that oath that I have, that very silent oath that I made to our firstborn. And as he just continued to grow up, I was just always amazed about his resilience, his adaptability. We moved quite a few times. He always has this twinkle in his eye when he's not squinting. He wears glasses now, so when he doesn't have the glasses on, he squints. But when he allows his eyes to be fully relaxed and settled in his on his face, he has this shimmery twinkle. He has a very infectious smile and laugh. Play and playfulness is his superpower. He knows how to put a smile on anybody's face. And there's times where I am just so serious, and I do take it for granted sometimes if when I'm caught up in the web of inner dialogue and thinking about next steps and logistics and plans and how are we going to amass Black power and economic power, etc. And he comes over and he'll like creep up on me and scare me and or tell me a joke. He makes me feel, he gives me permission to be a child and to be humorous. Because sometimes I forget that that was once my natural orientation to life, to laugh. And he teaches me every single day that laughter is medicinal and not everything needs to be taken so seriously. For it's the humor in the laughter that can bring sunshine to a dark and rainy day. Our firstborn is an avid reader, and that's something that I have poured into him. And I say this with utmost pride. I was not a reader when I was a child. I didn't have a bookshelf with books when I was a child. The only time that you would ever catch me with a book is when I was forced in elementary school when we went to the library to go check out a book. And our son, our firstborn, loves comic books. Now we are introducing him to more African centered, value oriented comic books. And so we've introduced him to the Ayanu series. And for all those who don't know who Ayanu is, it's based off of Yoruba folklore and mythology. And so we've introduced him to that. And so he reads that. And we're trying to open him up to other African centered and Black um, comic book artists. Nonetheless, he loves to read. He reads at the table. He reads when we're in the vehicle together. He reads before he goes to bed. He walks around here with at least 2 to 3 books in his hand. Our firstborn. He has the spirit of love and of joy and the spirit of creativity, resilience, determination. And he's constantly evolving and transforming the way in which that he was programmed and socialized in public school to become more African centered, more community centered, more in line with the values of or the principles of being a we people. And so, yeah, some of that is very difficult and challenging because he went to school from K through 5th grade. And this is our first year as homeschool educators. So, yeah, so we're undoing and deprogramming the individualistic and materialistic values that are inculcated into the minds of Black children. And he's been showing, even through his resistance, of his adaptability and flexibility to this African centered education and African centered living. The boy is special. And when I was putting together this self-written poetry anthology of the depths below, and that was published Juneteenth of 2022, I wanted to make sure that I captured the essence of how I want to show up authentically with empathy, compassion, love, and nurturance with our son as he continues to grow and develop and his personality evolves and his consciousness evolves and his behavior orientation transforms as well. And in the depths below, I wrote a poem to him. I wrote a poem to my future self. And this poem really illuminates the beautiful and synergetic bond between a father and his son through instruction, through socialization, through planning, through transforming mistakes and accidents into pursuits or pathways to achieving excellence and greatness. And also intergenerationally passing on the information and the knowledge and even the wisdom that is contained in our ancestral and lived experience. And for all those who never seen the book, this is the depths below. This is the first of many books that we have written, and this is full of poetry, again, that I put together, and it's all from the heart, from the soul, and they all have a very deep and intricate meaning. And in this particular, peace. It is called My Son, Don't Cry. Listen to me closely, for what I will say comes directly from the heart. For every action, there is a reaction. So be careful how you start. Your journey will contain obstacles. Those obstacles will seem immovable. Lean forward and keep turning your legs, and eventually those same obstacles will no longer look new to you. Life is comprised of peaks, hills, valleys, and cliffs. Hills will propel you to achieve considerable greatness. By reaching the peak of your existence that transcends logic and reasoning. Beware of the cliffs, for if you take an inaugural leap or misstep, brace for regrettable impact. Life is a better teacher than I will ever, could ever, and ought to be. Life, listen carefully to intuition, for instinct is our primal way of dealing with stress, confusion, and anxiety. Honestly, I'm proud to be the one to help you find and see your hidden truth buried discreetly underneath the pile of earthly insanity. My son, don't cry. And I really try to merge moral instruction and a bit of symbolism and metaphor, and then some directives to really demonstrate the multimodal approach to conditioning and teaching and educating a Black boy. Um, and so, and I really hope that from this poem and from the reflections of being a father and to a 12-year-old now, that you're able to really hold the mirror of honest and candid reflection and really see what it is that your child teaches you in real time. So I am so grateful that we were able to spend this time with each other. That you carved out time and space so we can coexist in harmony with peace in the spirit of communalism and humanism. And as you go forward, continue to hold on to the notion that every single time that you are honest and courageous about your experience and about how that experience contains seeds of unrealized wisdom, that you are walking towards unlocking the keys to vulnerability and transformation. And that is what it means to become more fuller, more expansive, more enlivened. Peace, blessings, prosperity, and great health. Talk to you all soon.